We are seeing all-time highs in the NASDAQ and S&P. Tech continuing to go crazy. Meanwhile, crypto taking a big fat shit on your holiday week. We're going to be discussing all of that and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Happy holidays. As we get going, do us a favor, like, subscribe, drop a comment if you would like, and remember that nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice, so please do your own research. Kev, it has been a really, really volatile week in the markets. We are seeing Tesla go absolutely crazy, up, I think, 76% in the last 72 days. I just noticed when I was kind of doing some stuff before the show. That's crazy. Nvidia is bouncing back. How much of that is Nancy Pelosi related? Meanwhile, crypto looks like it's getting ready to take a big fat shit with Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, all just above some pretty crucial numbers. We'll talk about that. How are you feeling today? The markets are closed. The TradFi market is closed ahead of 4th of July. Get the holiday tomorrow, and we're back at it on Friday. But how are you feeling as of right now?
You know, man, I feel confident in the monetary system calling bullshit on a lot of things, and we're starting to see that and significantly, right? Not just here in the U.S., but globally in a lot of different markets. However, there's a lot of noise right now, and that noise is very easy to get caught up in. And I think in the short term, it's going to be kind of stupid. People aren't going to necessarily know which way the market's going. But I do think that there is a catalyst for something extremely bad for financial markets, at least equities, that's going to drive a lot of people into U.S. Treasury market. What that is, I have no idea. It just seems like it's lining up that way. But I think we're just getting a lot of noise and a lot of hopium on the retail's end that's coming into this market, right? You got Tesla, you got Nvidia, you got Apple, all doing extremely well. That's why the S&P is up. You know, people are staying in their 401ks and all their pensions, all the money. They're just hoping that it's going to continue to go up. They're buying at the worst possible time. If we're looking at this in terms of how much of a pullback we've seen from any of these, I don't know. It seems like a setup for retail to get caught holding the bag. Meanwhile, you're seeing a lot of these CEOs absolutely dump. I believe Jeff Bezos and Jensen Huang are also making some pretty massive moves in the market as of recent. So I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to listen to pretty much.
Doing it because they got to buy a bunch of fireworks for 4th of July. Okay. That's what they're doing with that money. Let's real quick run through some of the numbers today. NASDAQ closing at 20,186, high, all-time high. S&P closing at 55.37, so right at the all-time high as well. We had Nvidia up 4% today. Amazon, one of the few, you mentioned Bezos, one of the few that is down on the day. Tesla up over 7%, 247. This thing was trading at 140.
Squeeze of the century.
Good Lord. It was back on April 22nd. You could still buy Tesla at 140. Nice little return. If you made that move, kudos to you. Meanwhile, Bitcoin right at 60K. I mean, a fart above 60K, and it looks like it's getting ready to go any second now. ETH just went below 3,300. Solana trading just over 140 at 141.1. So, that could take a shit any second now going into the holiday. Meanwhile, we did have some data today. Private sector employment came in at 150,000 jobs added in June. That is below the expectation of 160K and below last month's 157. Initial jobless claims came in just over expectation at 238,000. We see some different numbers around services, a trade deficit, nothing that's really going to move the markets there. But that is kind of what we're looking at right now is, okay, what is next? We saw also the minutes from the most recent Fed meeting back in June came out, and it seemed the Fed's all over the place. There's, some people expecting one cut this year, some expecting none, some expecting two, some willing to, hike again if needed. We keep hearing about, we need to see more progress toward 2%. What is that going to look like? Can we see, CPI and PCE come in under expectation before the Fed meeting at the end of July? So a lot is very much up in the air. But based on how TradFi is moving, you wouldn't think that at all. You would think that everything is very certain. They're pricing in multiple rate cuts for the rest of the year. That's at least what some of the data is showing as far as the CME group projections. So when you see some of those numbers, Kev, you hear some of the Fed talk, like, is it all still bullshit? Is there anything that we can really, that is actionable that we can gain from this?
No, it's always been bullshit, and that goes back to even 2008, and then every other Fed president before then. Not that they're all trying to screw everyone over in the market. It's just their word carries so much weight in the market that they can sway the market any way. I wanted to bring up just some data right here, and it's not being talked about it really that much today. But looking at the ISM services, new orders dropped to 47.3. Expectations were 53.6. Just a reminder that anything under 50 is recessionary levels, so that's not good. ISM employment 46.1, expected 49.0. So they were expecting an recessionary number, got even lower than that. Now here's the part that's really funny. ISM prices paid 56.3, expected 56.7. So it still shows you that inflation is problematic across the board. And even to look at this even further, numbers that should point towards a cut rather than a hike. U.S. Challenger June job cuts rise 19.8% year over year. Now, I think that is maybe accurate. I think maybe a little bit more, to be honest with you. But it just shows you that we are seeing a super, super softening of the labor market. And at some point, considering rates are this expensive, this high, there's a good chance that no one is being able to create new debt and they're dipping into their savings. And what does this mean? This kind of goes back to the bank stress that we were seeing the other day. If there are banks that are stressed and will not pass that test, they're not going to let you know, because then that would just ensue the bank stress kind of being put to the test in reality and cause major problems. So right now, I think what they're trying to do is just stay above the ground as long as they possibly can. A no landing scenario for them right now is just a win, I think. For a lot of them, I think for Powell, no landing 100% is a win on his term. How long can this go on? I have no idea, but the monetary system is breaking as we talk. I sent you and House that thing last night about SOFR rates, 5.4%, the highest I think in history. That's interbank, overnight, very similar to the reverse repo, but it deals with derivatives and derivatives market and just how much people are pretty much having to borrow and to pay back in those market hours. And, if anyone's borrowing at those rates, help them. There's no chance that, like, you have to be insane to be borrowing at 5.4%. So it's going to be really interesting to see how long this charade can kind of go on. But yeah, I think that we should be looking more at rate cuts than rate hikes at this point. I just think that the reason nothing is really given any type of credence to breaking is because of what Powell says has so much, power over the markets. Even though he says we're data dependent, second this guy starts talking about rate cuts, if we get some surprise rate cut after he's been bearish and I should say hawkish for a period of time, then something horrible is broken in the system. But until we get that type of stance where he's like willing to cut rates or even talk about it once again, we could be in this limbo for a period of time.
Let's talk TradFi before we get into crypto. And I want to hit on, you're goddamn right we are. Money never sleeps, Ace. Come on. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'll let you choose which way you want to go first. So we're going to go between Tesla and Nvidia. Those are the two stocks I think are the most interesting to talk about right now. So where do you want to begin there?
Let's just get Nvidia out of the way because this is such a stupid chart and I'm mad about it today.
I want to talk about a few things with Nvidia. A couple posts that you sent me last night regarding vendor financing and some of the issues there, and then also the tug of war between Jensen selling and Nancy buying today, and how we think that's going to impact things. Let's start with vendor financing because no one's really talking about this. It could be a canary in the coal mine situation. I don't think we're overblowing this. So why don't you go into the few things that you sent me yesterday regarding to what's going on with them in Singapore and how that could lead to more problems in the future?
Yeah, so pretty much Nvidia, we talked about vendor financing before. They're either giving companies or buyers an extreme discount for shipping their products, or they're pretty much just saying like, we'll give you the products and you just pay us back at a later date. Either way, that's counted as revenue. So when we get the quarterly earnings, they kind of apply that to their revenue growth, and because of that, that gives you these kind of inflated numbers of that don't necessarily paint an accurate picture of how the company is really doing. Singapore is one where there is handful of orders, a handful, I shouldn't say handful, I should say a shitload of orders of chips that were supposed to go there. However, none of the chips have ever been in Singapore itself. I'll retweet it when we get on, or maybe I can look for it right now. But it's to the point where, it's pretty obvious at this point looking at what Nvidia is doing with their earnings. And just so you know, none of this is illegal. A lot of these companies actually do vendor financing because they expect that money to be coming in. The question is, if it doesn't, then what happens, right? So it's kind of just like this way of potentially getting more money in terms of revenue, but they don't necessarily have to do any extra work. Let me just pull it up because I got it right here. And this is from Just Ario. We look at a lot of his stuff on Twitter. See, it looks like NVIDIA GPUs have never been physically in Singapore. So according to NVIDIA 10Q disclosures, for example, most of the shipments associated with Singapore revenue went to either the United States or Taiwan in the first quarter of the fiscal year 2025. Guess what? NVIDIA Singapore PT Ltd is headquartered in Hong Kong. In other words, there's just some sketchy things that are about this. Again, I don't believe any of this is illegal, but it just shows you that they are doing vendor financing probably to the best of their ability, and it's just continuing to be a problem. And I think it's going to be a problem in this bubble when that kind of unwinds, because that money's not there, those chips aren't where they need to be, then we're kind of looking at fake demand across the board for a lot of the future of Nvidia. I mean, the demand could have died down a long time ago, but we just don't necessarily know. Now, on the flip of that, we look at the chart for this. We're going to talk about Jensen and Nancy in this tug of war.
Yeah, so Nancy bought 10,000 shares today.
$1 million.
Yesterday. She did a spot buy as opposed to when she bought call options back in November that have absolutely printed for her. Yeah. So I'm curious, trying to get into the head of Nancy, which one of the best traders we've ever seen. I mean, just, and totally legit too. She's certainly not trading on any insider information. I'm curious what you think caused her to buy just the spot, 10,000 shares today.
A bit of a squeeze. That would be my opinion. And it was last week, I think she bought it. Okay. I thought someone said it was 126 was the level that she bought at. I would expect her to have bought a little bit lower, like 116, and then here's the trade, and then she dumps it in a few days because, again, it's a spot buy. She doesn't necessarily need this, and it's only $1 million, right? How much money could she potentially make off a spot buy if it goes up, 5-10%? Handful, but is it worth it? I don't necessarily know. The problem is we're seeing all of NVIDIA employees kind of offload their shares, and we have to question, does Nancy believe that there's value in NVIDIA going up from here? Or does Jensen believe that, hey, it's time to start taking profits and calling it a day? We don't necessarily think that this thing's going to go up much higher, or maybe just both of them don't know, and they're just they're doing their best out there in the markets. I can't necessarily say either, because this move that we got today is just absolutely insane in Nvidia, and the reason that we got it is literally because of her disclosure. We're seeing Nvidia just down for quite some time. You can see that it's down, 0.3%. Down 1.3%, and then today up 3.96% to close. Do I think it's going to get back up to like 140.89? I don't know. The market cap right now is sitting at about 3.14 trillion. I was thinking that this was a head and shoulders pattern here, but I think what's really interesting is we have to go even deeper into the stock, to the charts, to see what this is actually doing. And if we go to the hourly on Nvidia, you can see that it probably wasn't a head and shoulders just because of how weak this shoulder would have been. However, this is a 5-way move to the downside right here. We got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, massive wave 4, and then wave 5. That's completed 100% on the hourly. Now we're looking at this here. And what this could be is a multitude of things. This could be, our A wave. Down here's our B wave. And this is our C wave, and it's a corrective pattern. And at some point, we can look at this on the 4-hourly too, see if this plays out. Kind of still plays out on the 4. I think it actually plays better on the 4-hourly, but you would think that this would be topping out fairly soon. So for Nancy to be buying somewhere around 126 or so to make I don't even know what that would be.
She
126.
bought. I'm looking at the disclosure now because I want to show this tweet here in a second. But she bought on the 26th of June.
26. Let's see. Where am I? What is today? I'm so dumb right now. I'm looking at 24. I'm like, why is every day the 24th? And it's literally July 2024. So that's when I am. Idiots. 26th. Yeah, I mean, she could, you know what? She could have bought down here around 122. She could have caught that knife. It's very possible, right? We just don't necessarily know the actual entry point. But if she bought on the 26th, there's a good chance she could have gotten good value at 122.48 or somewhere around there. And then obviously it shot up to to 126 to close on the day. Say from there, give her the benefit of the doubt, cut it from 123 to where it went today. It's up 3.78%, 3.14%. It still doesn't make a lot of sense for me to buy and think that it's not going to go up a lot more than that if you're doing spot, right? Maybe it's also a thing to lure in retail. That's another thing too, right? You can buy spot because you don't necessarily have to see a contract expire, take a little bit of profit, get out, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think she does believe that it's going to go up a lot more from here. Like I said, looking at the hourly.
I want to show something, and this just kind of goes on the power of Nancy Pelosi and what she can do. But this was so this was a tweet from Dave Portnoy earlier today, founder of Barstool Sports, has a pretty large and rabid following, does a daily day trading show where, I mean, the guy's just not very good at it, but you know what? He makes a lot of money on advertising and his deal with Kraken, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. But, put me down for $1 million of Avgo. And it's quote tweeting the Pelosi tracker and is showing when buys were made. She bought Avgo, and I'll switch over to their chart on the 24th of June. And so this is the 24th here. Let's say for the sake of argument, she bought right in the middle of the day, not at the bottom necessarily, but right around the 1600 mark, already seeing a nice return on that one. If we go right from around 1600 to where we are now, that's about a 7-8% return in just a few days. So once again, she buys this little local bottom here, and she's riding it up. And there is a ton of momentum today based purely on the fact of the stat tracker, the tweet from Portnoy are all contributing to that move up. So Nancy Pelosi, maybe the biggest market mover there is right now.
Yeah, and I think and that's why I can understand why people too would believe that the stocks can go up a lot more, because they're just following her at this point. It's very dangerous to see how much someone can move the market just by sentiment itself. It's like Elon Musk when he says Doge, right? Everyone just buys in because they think, oh, we're going to make a ton of money. Fucking idiots. That's who's left in the market at that point then. Ace, let's see what we got here. I put him down with autopilot, the tracker that tracks congressman trades. And then, wow.
Oh, damn.
Okay. Yeah, fuck that guy then, I guess. Damn, I didn't even know. That's insane. But going back to this trade here, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's an insane gain on Avgo. If we look at what do you call Nvidia too, that
if you're looking at Avgo, still oversold. Like it's got
plenty of room,
a ton of room to the upside here. I'm looking at the daily chart. Let's go to see where's that on the weekly. It's moving toward the overbought territory. On the monthly, it's definitely overbought, but. Yeah, I'll go to Nvidia now. Do you want to switch? You want to show it from your?
Yeah, I'll pull up.
I got all the lines and fun doodads on there.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing in Nvidia, and then we can move on to Tesla real quick, and then we talk about crypto. But yeah, this could also be a bit of a fake out too. I will say that. Like, I think this is an ABC corrective pattern, but the problem, obviously, me being skeptical here, is that the daily is so oversold. But the question is, look how overbought it was from April of 2024 all the way till just, June 21st of this last month. This could stay overbought for a period of time. Now, I think it can also stay oversold for a period of time. We're seeing the volumes go down as the price is going up. That's bearish divergence. I just don't know what her exit strategy is. And to buy last week, I mean, it's very possible that she could have gotten out of the market today too, right? We don't know because it's delayed. It's very much delayed. The only person that's actually ever done it on the day and kind of released it was Marjorie Taylor Greene when she bought all those. I think it was like treasury bonds or something like that. So this is something that we're just going to have to wait and see. But it seems like she's bullish on Nvidia for the time being. Moving to Tesla. Now, this one is just fucking stupid, guys. I'm sorry. This is a short squeeze,
What a
100%. I was looking at shorting Tesla around this white line here because this is kind of a historical level of resistance. Good thing I didn't fucking do that because I was
ass liquidated.
Oh, it's 100% a squeeze. I mean, there's nothing you can necessarily do about it. On the stochastic RSI, you're 100 and 100. Now the problem is
to Tesla's credit, they did they beat expectations as far as vehicles delivered. So I think that was some of the momentum, and then that probably led into a short squeeze if that's what caused it.
Yeah, and you know how many people were short Tesla at 140? So many. You know who was short Tesla for the longest before that? Us. So I mean, we were calling it. We said that it was going to go down to 64. It went down to 140. It is not done, in my opinion. Obviously, if it puts in a higher high than 264, problematic. Going to be a different structure. However, you're a fucking idiot if you think this is sustainable right here. And I'm being very nice. I'm not trying to make fun of anyone at all, but it's just like you have to be kidding me if you think that you're going long on Tesla right now. Sure, it broke out of that, but on the daily stochastic RSI, 100 and 100. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly 195. Let's look at the monthly. And monthly is still, it can come out of the oversold and go back down. We'll wait to see that. But I don't believe this one bit. I still think that nobody's buying fucking cars. They're not buying used cars. They're not going to buy electric vehicles. I think that we're going to continue to see Tesla get pounded. It's just right now, let it run. Don't worry about it. Don't focus on, the fact that it keeps going up and FOMOing in, if that's your case, because there's a lot of gaps down here. And we all know when Tesla does dump, it dumps hard. I mean, let's talk about this from here. What was this at? Back in this B wave that we're looking at, 298, all the way down to right here at about 140. It's a pretty good move that we saw to the downside. And in the grand scheme of everything that we're looking at, just that was about a 53% drop in the market from market value. Looking at this here in the grand scheme of where Tesla once was, this is a bit of an anomaly. So if it's already overbought at this territory, it probably has plenty of room to the downside at some point when, I don't know. I'm not going to fucking fight a short squeeze. Cybertrucks are aesthetically pleasing product. Everyone decided to buy as a result. House, glad to have you back here, man. It's good to see you.
Thanks for joining us, House. Hope you're feeling all right. Also, I saw my first Cybertruck in the wild, and those things are ugly as shit, man. Like, they're real stupid looking. So, and I'm still seeing plenty of issues with the, auto driving, all that stuff, but
yeah.
Hey, I guess some people like them. So there you go. Whatever floats your boat.
Under 60K. Just breaking news on Bitcoin. Back under 60K again. Wonderful. I love
under
to see
33, Sol under 140.
Look at this on Coinbase. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we were expecting, right? We were saying we're going to get stuck between the 50 and 200.
Hold on real quick. Are we done on Tesla? Let's make sure we put a bow on Tesla before we move into crypto.
Yeah, I got nothing to say with Tesla.
Okay, so let's move into to crypto. We had, it's been trickling down throughout the show. Bitcoin below 60K, like I said. ETH under 33, Solana under 140. Meme coins absolutely falling off a cliff. We're seeing USDT and USDC dominance are the only things right now in the green, as well as BTC dominance by just a little bit. Let's go back into the charting, and then let's talk about ETH and the fact that we do not have the ETH ETF approved yet.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about ETH first, because that was actually something I wanted to bring up. We didn't get the ETF before the holiday, and I think that's kind of the reason we see this pretty big dump. Maybe it comes out soon. Who knows, right? We just didn't get any word on it necessarily. But it just shows you the power of these moving averages for the time being. Once you're underneath them, you're below the 50 moving average here on the daily. You couldn't break above it. You went straight down, and volumes are obviously decreasing over time. You're down about 4.36% today. Next major level of major support, obviously we could bounce here. It's possible, but I think that we're looking at for, somewhere that we could be heading to is about 30, just shy of 3,100 in ETH, which would put us roughly 5.34% more down. Not ideal, but for the most part, alts are looking pretty shitty, and USDT dominance is looking pretty good. If we got it the other way around, where we got the ETF approval, I think we would have broke that 50 moving average today easily. I don't think the crypto market would be reacting the way it is right now, but it is, and we have to look for where the next level of support. You got some support right here. However, if that doesn't hold, obviously we're looking down to the 200 moving average, and we're looking at a very similar pattern to Bitcoin, double rollover. So that's one thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on. ETH, any thoughts on us not getting the approval, or if we think we're going to get it approved soon?
I mean, I'm still seeing reports that the week of the 15th seems likely. So I think we're still going to get it. Like, I think it's going to happen this month. Ace asking about pushing to new yearly highs. So I think if you wanted to take the easy route, you could say yes, because we saw what happened with Bitcoin when that ETF started trading. We are in a different situation than January, though, right? Like, there is a lot more political uncertainty, everything going on with Biden, whether or not
We got to
he's
talk
like
about that too.
that has been just ping pong back and forth all day. I mean, Trump just sitting back watching the Democrats unravel. I mean, RFK is out after that soundbite came out yesterday of him being a total piece of shit. So he's done. Biden looks like I mean, I don't know who's making the calls anymore. Is it Joe or is it Jill? She just loves being in the White House and loves all the treatment there. So
Dr. Jill.
I don't know what is going on. And someone took away Trump's phone and isn't letting him post on social media, which has been probably the best thing for him. So I mean, I would say if you combine the fact that people are expecting Trump to be a pro crypto president, if we get, more news that makes him a bigger favorite, plus the ETF, I would say, I don't know, 60-40 that we see new all-time highs this year for ETH. I don't know if you want to put a number on that as well, but I think that there's a good enough chance that we see all-time highs for ETH this year. Maybe we break closer to 5K.
Absolutely. I think it's possible. I just don't think it's going to happen. You said it first, we're in a different place than we were in January. I think the problem is also that we're starting to see the labor market soften really hard to the point where, people are losing their jobs. We also know that, rates are still 5.5, 5.25, 5.5%. Problem with that, it just means that we're going to see, I'm out of here. Once my I'm just reading the chat. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it seems like the alt market in itself is very different from Bitcoin right now. I think there's still a lot of capital in Bitcoin, and people do trust Bitcoin. But when we look at some of these alts, and I think ETH is considered an alt here just by how it's performing, you're below the 50 moving average, between above the 200. And I look at what's going on in total 3. Remember, I told you guys I didn't like how this looked, and then we had that one day of pump, and now we're right back below the 200 moving average. This is something that's very concerning, and I think this is going to be across the board. I think that there just isn't the amount of liquidity, there isn't the amount of capital that is moving around into these. And when I mean capital, I mean new capital, right? It's very possible that we could see alts bleed, and then all that money just goes right into ETH, and that's how we get an all-time high, or for a yearly high, I should say. But to believe that's, and people not taking profit, right now, I think more people are prone to take profit than not. At least smart money, or people that know that they're going to need that capital in the coming months to next year or so. But it seems like we're just seeing the rotation of capital in crypto. We're not seeing any new money, no inflows or anything like that that's coming in. That makes me believe that we're going to continue to see highs and just keep taking out high after high after high. I don't believe it for alts. Bitcoin, I think, is pretty fucking weak here, and there's a good chance that we could see it back around 52K if we don't hold support here at 60,000. We're above 60,000 right now, but I just don't buy it. And we're talking about Crypto Capo. And again, I don't hate the guy, but I did think he was wrong here. I do think that this is going to be a major dump in the alt market, and I think that we are seeing the beginnings of it. We just haven't seen it fully. And again, that's we said it was like a 12% drop or so to where we would probably be around. And take any of your favorite coins, take Solana for example. That could be well on its way to dropping 12%. 12% will put it right around the 200 moving average, right? So it's very possible we start to see that across the board. I just don't think that there's going to be a lot of strength. I mean, fuck, even look at Matic right now. Matic's just absolutely tanking. Matic is at 53 cents. Man, it's going to be very dangerous for alts. I don't see money coming in for them, and even if you look at total two, that's looking like shit right now too. So total two gets below the 200 moving average. That probably gives me more confidence that we're probably not going to see ETH pump as much. Yeah, it's a long-winded answer for a lot of problems that are in the system, but I do think that we're going to continue to see negative price action for alts and Bitcoin itself. Before we move on to anything else, I just wanted to talk about one thing that's happening in Japan real quick. So if we could wrap up crypto, and that is an intervention that happened today. We got the Bank of Japan intervening, not necessarily said out loud yet, but I can't say anything else to the sorts of it being anything else. So we look at the USD JPY pairing. You wouldn't even know it happened. But as soon as it got to around 162, shot all the way down to 160.772. And then guess what? We're at 161.71. So all they did was drop it 0.2 points. I mean, we're talking about chaos here. There is nothing that these people can do that's going to save their currency. And because of that, look what's happening in their equity market. No one's been watching this, but the fucking Nikkei is just going absolutely berserk. I mean, one day up 443 points, the next day up 506 points. Leading into last week, or into what was it? Thursday, it was 62 points. Then it was 208 points on Monday morning, 368 points on Tuesday, Wednesday, 493 points. That's because the yen is being devalued and everyone is so afraid that they're putting their capital into the equity market. Very similar to what we're seeing across the globe. The U.S. is going to be in a pretty bad place itself when the dollar, we're seeing the equity markets continue to rise. The dollar is falling. What happens when the treasury market and the U.S. dollar need to be strong in order to, pretty much keep the government running, keep the country running, or there's just a point where we need to see a lot more capital flow into U.S. treasuries because Japan is offloading debt to save their currency, China doing the same. We're talking about major catastrophic, cataclysm that can happen in financial markets that just unwinds everything. So it's getting fun. There's nothing that they can do. It's just a matter of time until something actually breaks, right? I just don't know when that is.
Just saw this pop up from Unusual Whales. Dozens of Democratic lawmakers considering signing a letter calling on Biden to withdraw from the race. Kevin, 1 week from now, when we do our show Wednesday, July 10th, is Biden still going to be running for re-election?
The question is, will he still be president? Right? That's the problem, because I think
there's
now
no way he's stepping down. And they can't
never know.
They can't invoke the 25th that fast. So I would say, maybe he's canceled his campaign and the they're drafting paperwork to have him removed, but man, I think his campaign is coming to an end. And it's sad. I don't love Biden, but I also it kind of sucks to see, him go out this way. And for, it's just a shitty situation, in my opinion.
He's been a politician since he was 26. Dude should be eating mashed peas and jello enjoy the rest of his life. Honestly, I'm not even trying to be mean at all. I'm just, at a certain point, you get too old. You should be enjoying life. Going back and forth. And this goes for Trump too, man. Just thinking about them going crazy into the point where they're going into their 80s. If I'm 80 years old and I have to travel and I got to shake hands and be on TV nonstop, I chose the wrong profession and I should have retired by then. But I don't think that the 25th Amendment is not fiction, because I think that the fact that we're seeing so many Democratic lawmakers saying, "Hey, drop out of the race. They don't want you." I mean, I don't, unless the Republicans just want to be like Trump versus Biden because they think they can win easily, and they just don't sign it itself. It's going to be, I don't think Biden's going to be the nominee. I really don't. And I don't necessarily know if it's going to be Kamala. I was seeing Twitter going back and forth saying that, oh yeah, Kamala and Pete Buttigieg are going to be the ticket on the Democratic Party. And then Joe Biden's like, I didn't step down yet on that Zoom call or whatever it was. So this is just chaos. I mean, this is just absolutely fucking crazy. But, okay. I don't, yeah. All right. Let's call it there.
All good. I think we're going to wrap it up for today. Because we are the hardest working men in YouTube. It's not true. We will be back on Friday to talk through the data. We have a big jobs report Friday, unemployment numbers, jobs added, unemployment rate, hourly wages, all of that will definitely impact the Fed, and that in turn will have an effect on the market. So markets are open Friday. We're going to be back Friday as well. I hope everyone has an awesome 4th of July. Stay safe, have fun, don't drink and drive, and don't post pictures of fireworks because no one gives a flying fuck. Kevin, have an awesome, awesome day. Go watch Independence Day, one of the all-time great movies and all-time great speeches in that one as well. Stay safe in the market. Stay safe out in those streets on 4th of July, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Take care. Man, we should have just voted for Bill Pullman.